Dangerous times, don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind. So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind. So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. the sky on your mind. Flying, get on board. We're soaring on top of the world. Flying, get on board. We're soaring on top of the world. Fly so high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Flying, get on board. We're soaring on top of the world.
Hitting the go live button now.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another FPVFC Town Hall. With us tonight, we've got Alex and Dan and Dave, and we've got a couple extra guests tonight. So they've got some interesting, an interesting product to share, and something that's definitely we've talked about here in the past. So, Dave, I'll hand it over to you to introduce these two gentlemen and what they've got to show us tonight.
Great, thanks, Josh. This is exciting for me. We have Ken and Brian have developed a remote ID module. They received the FAA. I won't steal all their thunder, but they did receive FAA Declaration of Compliance approval today, and so they have a working and approved remote ID module that they've developed between the two of them. So this is no mean feat, and it is also in compliance with the means of compliance that the FAA stipulates. Otherwise, you wouldn't get a declaration of compliance approval. And so I'd like them to share some of how they did it, how long it took, and how they managed as two guys to pull off the development of a remote ID module. And I just want to say that this is an amazing effort as members of the FPV community, and my hat's off to both of them. Ken and Brian, who wants to start off?
Ken, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, a nice introduction, Dave. So how to start out here. So when did this start? We'll give you a little bit of a story here. So I think if you recall, I think I remember posting, do we need to do a GoFundMe type of thing to build remote ID modules, maybe back in December or January, because at the time, there really weren't any available that would suit our needs. And the ones that were out there were really costly, heavy, big, and all that sort of stuff. So I think I remember talking with Dave about that. And it's like, well, I think I can do the software side of things, but I've got no notion of how to do the electronics, the board, the hardware, and that sort of thing. And Brian, what was it? Maybe somewhere around there, I think you posted, does anybody know how to do some of this coding stuff more or less? And so long and short of it, this is where we got to now based on some just conversations. So, so we started out just working at it, and my background is such where I'm very much in the agile software development, and the concept of mean viable product is a thing that just is something that I drive home and take to heart. And so we were just looking for something that was small, sizable, could work. And we're just first goals were to just get the broadcast message out there. We had other additional goals of let's make it hook up to the flight controller, pass GPS through and all that sort of stuff. And so that's how we kind of managed it. Was we just need some things to work. Back in January, February, I don't think anybody knew what it would take to get an approval done. And so we were just going bare bones. We just want GPS. We just want to get the message broadcast. Everything else is gravy if we can make this stuff work. Because if we can't get this approved, what's the point of doing all this work for all these other fancy things? What, not fancy things we really would like to have. It's just a pointless thing to do.
So what was your original target market for this? Like, what kind of drone were you envisioning this? What do you fly that you wanted to put this on?
You want to run with that, Brian?
Yeah, I normally fly lightweight 4 and 5 inch, but I wanted something that would integrate into the community. Everybody's always got their niche, the freestyle guys, the long range guys, the racers, and all that stuff. And when the first couple came out, I started looking at them. I was like, there's no way you're going to fit that on a 4 inch. There's no way you're going to fit that on a 5 inch. And the hardware in it is, not necessarily large. There was no reason for the modules to be that big. The drone has a battery in it. There's no reason to carry a battery.
So you were looking at things
so
that were probably designed for a Mavic or some other drone, that not the kind of thing you were imagining a remote ID module was going to work for you for.
Right. And I got 2 of them sitting behind me, and Dave's got some pictures we'll show later. And it's almost effortless to install this thing on a drone. And I think, my background, Ken's got a heavy background in software engineering. I was actually a mechanic in the Navy. I operated nuclear power plants for 20 years, and a lot of electronics training. I played around with electronics when I was a kid. I was soldering when I was 12, and I was like, you know what, I can make one of these. I can make this hardware. It's not untrivial, but it's not impossible. So I started hammering it out, and Ken's like, I could probably do the software. I was like, all right, let's give it a shot, see where we go.
Where did you guys virtually meet to come together to work on this? Was it a Facebook post or Discord or email or?
On the Discord, the FPV.
Okay, our
FPVFC
Discord server, sure.
Oh, that's cool.
So I view this as kind of your basic old school FPV. When there's a need, you figure out how to do it.
Great. And you guys can, you all know I've got 4 decades of experience in global tech, in hardware, software services, development, sales, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and also that I was part of, deeply involved in the flight test broadcast module development. So I know, and I'm on the ASTM working group for the remote ID module, or remote ID broadcast. And so that working group that created the means of compliance. So I knew specifically how hard this would be. And, we were working through this. And so, Ken, when you reached out and you thought, and I heard from Brian, like, yeah, I can do this. And I'm like, and so a testament to the 2 of you that you've done this outside of your day jobs, and that you've done this so well and so light. Brian, would you like me to bring up some of the slides to
Sure.
do a little show and tell here?
Sure.
Let's see if I can manage this.
You can do it, Dave.
This is the actual bottom side of the module with the USB and the SH 1.0 connector for the, this would be the plug that actually goes to the flight controller. There are 6 plugs on it. It's got power ground. It's got the RX and TX for the UART, and it will also pass through the I2C port down. So if you have a mag on your GPS and you want to send that down to your flight controller, it'll just pass it straight through. Just wire the 1 6-pin plug. The actual dimensions are about 24 millimeter long and then about 14 millimeters wide. And it's actually sitting on a 3D printed mount for an Express LRS module that I'm actually living in a hotel room. I'm on business travel right now. I bought a 3D printer so I can 3D print stuff. So people that clean my room think I'm crazy.
That's what you're doing in your spare time when you're on the road.
Yeah.
And so there's the
So it
separate
fits-
from the carrier.
Fits right into the 3D print that was designed for the Express LRS module. It's basically the same size then.
Yeah.
That's epic.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and a good bit of fortune there. And then there's a separate GPS, but if anyone out there is thinking, oh, geez, this is getting heavy already. Wait for it. This is the weight on this thing is light.
Yeah, the thing you see on the right, as actually Ken was asking, is like, can we just make this a module like some of the other ones? You just turn them on and you stick them on your drone. I was like, I guess. I looked at all the specs on the components we were using. I was like, this will probably run on 1S. Bought a set of 100 milliamp hour 1S batteries. I soldered on a JS or an SH 1.0 connector to it and plugged it in. Sure enough, it worked. That's a micro, what is that? The Foxier. That's the Foxier micro GPS. And it ran for about a half an hour, a little over half an hour on a 100 milliamp hour 1S battery.
Nice. Nice. So
here's the weight with one of the Flyfish micro GPS modules. It's just under 7 grams with 120 millimeter connectors.
So connectors, GPS, and the remote ID, 6.9 grams.
I went this morning to weigh the module itself. I had somebody else ask me how much it weighed, and my gram scale, it wouldn't even register.
Of course, he had his thumb underneath it. No, this is beautiful. This is a great thing. And then let's see. I think you've added a battery here.
Yep, this is since I didn't have the 3D printer when I put this together, but I actually used an SD card and some double-sided tape just to stick everything together, and that weighs 9.5 grams.
So with some ancillary tape, 9.5 grams. That's outstanding. This is a home run. And then this is
zoom in on the left side arm. That's the actual module zip tied underneath one of the arms. And this is a ASIR 2 that I downloaded off a Thingiverse and had CNC Madness cut out the frames. But the micro GPS is actually underneath the 3D printed canopy, not even exposed to the sky. The M10, the module is only built for an M10 GPS, but I think the Foxier ones are $20. The Goku ones are like 12 or $14. And nice. It picks up satellites really quickly underneath the canopy. And the module actually has 4 LEDs on it, one for power, a green for GPS lock. It's got a red fault indicator if there's a fault or the GPS isn't connecting or you got the UART backwards. And then it has another LED that we can use for telemetry or some other troubleshooting or something in the future that we work on.
Nice.
And the FAA
Brian was rattling off a number of the FAA requirements that in that feature list. Go ahead, Diane.
I was just wondering, the FAA didn't give you any hassle about the GPS being connected like that with long wires, and it didn't cause any issues with tamper resistance or anything like that from the FAA?
This is not the first module without a dedicated GPS on board to be approved. And once I saw some of those that came out, I was like, I'd much prefer have a separate GPS. That way you can put the module underneath and you can put the GPS on top. You can make it removable. You can, install a GPS on all your drones and move the module.
Yeah, we were leery about that at first, and I think as many of you have probably read all the specs and requirements, and it's not what people expect. What the STM specs spell out probably is not what people understand things to be. So,
yeah, it's within the specs. And Dan's point, had they, if tamper resistance, no, shouldn't be an issue. So nicely done. And like you say, I can think of Blue Mark and Drone Tag. Both have GPS that are not coincident with the board. So
I suppose if you
worked for me.
tamper, if you cut the GPS wires, then obviously it's not going to get a GPS signal, and it's going to give you an error code, or you said lights or
A
something.
fault indicator, yeah.
Let you know that it's not functioning properly, and that's what the FAA is looking for anyway. So
Yeah,
Cool.
and it's for a removable module or an add-on module. If you wanted to tamper with it or make it not functional, you could just not
remove
plug
it.
it in and remove it.
Right.
So the tamper resistance becomes kind of moot at some point.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think one of the drone tags might be minimally smaller, but I think you also have to add on external antennas, and theirs has got the antenna built into the PCB SoC directly into it, so there's no additional antennas to add on, manage where you're going to stick those, and all that sort of good stuff.
Nice.
I wonder if anybody will go to the trouble of creating a fake GPS module that just outputs bad GPS data that you can solder to modules like this. But I don't
Yeah.
know.
So-
It doesn't seem like
so-
it'd be worth
Well, you
the
don't even-
effort. But
You don't. Yeah. That's
So
just-
as you guys were talking
Yeah,
to me
okay.
today, you wanted something that was lightweight, was usable for FPV, something that if it got damaged, because some of us crash and damage our drones or some components, and we would want something like a remote ID module that wouldn't break the bank. And so that I think you've hit all of your design objectives, and so. 11-month piece of work, and yeah, a really fantastic job. And my hat's off to both of you.
there's a statement, I guess, not so much a question, in the YouTube chat from Nate Teeter, who's saying that he was interested in connecting the remote ID module to a Firefly strobe anti-collision drone light, since it already has a battery and a USB-C plug. So something like this, you could probably just attach
Sure.
it to that anti-collision light. And I don't know if you maybe move those between drones or something, but it seems like a convenient place to get
Yeah.
get power and to store it if you're flying something that already has to have a big strobe light like that on it.
Yeah, all of these things can pull. We want it to be so you did 1S and it goes up. What's the max voltage? You guys know for this module?
5 volts.
5 volts. So you'd want to take it off of a BEC or one of the voltage regulator tabs on a flight controller, or a 1S battery. So yeah, and hello to Nate. He's a neighbor of mine.
What's the current draw?
Yeah.
So real quick, a couple features, questions, I guess. So are we Bluetooth 5, Bluetooth 4? What's
Wi-Fi?
the protocol you guys are using? Yeah.
It's Bluetooth 5 with the Bluetooth 4 legacy,
Okay.
and the range is actually quite incredible. I was flying over the water the other day. I was a quarter mile out over the river, and I still had the signal picked up on my cell phone on the
That's awesome.
was it the drone tag app?
Excellent. Alex,
and
you had a
then,
question? I'm
okay.
sorry, Josh.
You're fine.
What was the current draw for the 5 volts?
It's about 200 milliamp.
Okay.
So, 100 milliamp hour battery for half an hour. So it's under 200 milliamps. I've been unable to get. If I was at home, I have a Fluke. I can measure that.
Yeah, I fly almost always with GPS, other than my sub 250. That's just for fun, and so I've got GPS, and I haven't seen any anecdotal flight time differences with the module bolted on. So
That was more so for like flight controller, 5-volt regulator.
Yeah, since this
Yeah.
isn't something you're going to
Overdraw.
want to directly wire up to your 6S battery or anything.
right,
No.
right.
So, and then what are we thinking for availability and quantities and
Prices?
And then the ultimate question would be price.
Well, we put about 11 months into this. It's just him and I, and all the prototyping time. We're still trying to see what the rest of the business looks like as far as as costs, and when we come up with a price point, it's going to be very competitive to what else is out there.
Perfect.
Yeah, we
And
hope to have things coming shortly, and we're doing the kind of the basic. Let's see what the market does, and so we'll start with an order, and if it looks like there's big demand, we'll crank up the widget to make more of them. So
And
Yeah.
can I assume you'll stand up your own website for this?
Yes.
yep.
So let us know when you have a domain for that, and we'll pass that along. We'll be sure to get the word out that and we've got some friends in the business that I'm sure would be happy to share that information around. So we'll make it
100%.
popular.
And
All
from what
right.
I've seen, it seems like the market's around $100 for modules that have the built-in GPS and antennas and everything. So I don't know if you're
Yeah.
planning on selling it with that specific GPS or bring your own module GPS to it or sell it both ways, but that's sort of the price point I've been seeing lately.
Yeah, we were planning on a bring your own GPS. I've tested. I have every M10 GPS that's on the market that I could find.
Very
Nice.
cool.
Some of them 2 or 3, and it's worked with all of them. And I've had to answer to my boss, like, honey, I know it's a GPS module. It's like, we got 4 of them last week. It's like, yep, we had 5 of them this
Yep,
week.
sure did.
What are these things procreating?
Yeah,
What is
funny.
what are you doing with these? Are you-
I told you to
That's
leave them
hilarious.
in their bags in the box. You can't leave them together.
That's
Excellent.
epic.
Anything?
Well,
anything
guys,
else?
this
Are
is
we picking up any questions from YouTube or anywhere else, Dan?
I'm not seeing any other questions. They were just asking about the price of it. Yeah.
Right.
so soon to be announced once they've nailed everything down. These guys have done amazing work in a relatively short period of time, and like others that have gone down this path or many other paths when it relates to our hobby, the ingenuity and the ability to solve problems in this industry is second to none, I think.
Yeah,
And
this is a
we
case.
see a
This is
problem and we fix it.
Yeah, this is a case study for the FAA. When the FAA says, "Well, what is it with you guys? You're, careless, clueless, and criminal." No, and here are 2 technical people who got together on our Discord channel and figured out how to solve a problem at a great price point and hitting all of the design points of weight and ease of installation. So, yeah, this is definitely a great story.
I'll give you one other shout out to you all though as well. So we're all hooked up with Betaflight now as well, and our initial thought was to just do a straight pass through. And when you guys came out with the MSP thing, we switched gears there to that because it simplified things for us, and so it was a benefit from our side. So it's much appreciated.
Great.
So I
Yeah,
assume you've
and-
had to install the nightly Betaflight to test the MSP and get all the settings just right to make that work correctly.
Well, the Betaflight devs and the Ardu pilot, in fact, the 2 authors of the MSP message, or the loosely defined spec, were both fantastic, as I've said, and we are very, very grateful to both teams for stopping what they're doing and working with us to get that get us what we needed so that we could have a something that was communicable.
So I'm surprised no one on YouTube's asked this question yet, but is some or any of the code for this going to become open source so that other people can expand on it in any way?
Yeah.
So I don't think our code can be open source from the standpoint that it's a private product. We haven't investigated that. But if you're really curious about things, we've used plenty of open source code in this to make this. So you can go out and there's large chunks of the code to actually do the message that come from OpenIDC.org, I believe it is. So there's building blocks out there. So I don't know that we would need to make something open source necessarily to do it. Literally, we pretty much stitch together other people's libraries, which is often the case in things. And so it's, from one perspective, already open source.
Yeah, I'm just thinking people have interesting, crazy ideas. Let's say they wanted to hook up a buzzer to it and you had no way of notifying anything over a buzzer, and they wanted to write some code to update your firmware so that it could sound a buzzer when certain things happened. Like, people have interesting ideas, and if they like to build on something else if it's out there like that.
Yeah, I think the other concern would be the FAA's tamper resistance part of it, and then
Right, and that's kind of what I was
somebody
wondering
takes the module and
if you could
and
do
that
part
was-
of it where you've got sort of a hardened part that they can't touch, but other parts that they could, like all of the pass-through information that gets to Betaflight was a part of an open source piece of the code that you were letting people modify, because that doesn't interfere with the function of the remote ID module. Anyway, just ideas.
So
So
I guess
yeah,
one last thing. Once
Go.
Once we got it and it's ready to be released, I do have the CAD models I was going to upload to Thingiverse, and then any of the other
Nice.
models that I've been working on for cases, and we'll reference all the ones that I found that actually fit just straight out of Thingiverse. And a
Awesome.
friend of mine who's also in FPV, he's a graphics designer. He actually designed the penguin encounter at SeaWorld in Orlando. He's
Wow.
working on a case. He's like, yeah, I'll work on a case for you. I was like, oh, thanks.
Nice. That's
So-
really that's
Love
really
I
it.
good
have
to hear.
friends.
Thanks to him.
Yeah, if you don't find anybody who, or if that falls through for any reason, there's a guy. Gosh, now I can't remember his name, but he's um, on the Bardwell's live streams all the time, and he makes all kinds of TPU 3D printed mounts for all kinds of video transmitters and receivers and stuff. Like they usually fold in half and are well designed and fit real easily. And
Yeah,
gosh,
it,
know that-
actually, it fits in the one for the dual ELRS modules.
yeah, I don't know if that's the one that he designed or not, but
It is.
I'm sure he'd be happy to help design something as
There
well.
you go.
Yeah, just like that.
So,
It's so tiny.
Nice. Excellent.
I love it,
So,
guys. Excellent
Brian
work,
and
guys.
Ken, thank you very much. And thank you for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. You're welcome to hang in on video or sign off, whichever your choice. Josh,
All
over
right.
to you.
Thank you much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
So, I do have a couple news articles. I don't know if I'll get across to all of them, but I do want to. Let me see if I can get my.
While Josh is loading that up, there's one more question here in the YouTube from Nate, possibly for Dave. He's wondering if anyone's heard about the Albany, New York story where legislators are trying to ban drones from flying over
Yes.
schools.
It's actually on my.
Oh, it's even in
list.
your list. Okay.
So it'll be coming up shortly. So, real quick, we do have a new FAA administrator has been confirmed. So this is Mr. Michael Whitaker. So the last guy, as Alex and I like to joke about, struggled a little bit in his confirmation hearing and decided to eventually and probably for the better bow out. But this gentleman we've been without a permanent leader for 18 months, and he'll serve a 5-year term, barring anything else happening. The FAA has been without a permanent leader since Steve Dixon resigned in March 2022. Whitaker's confirmation arrived just in time, as Polly Trottenberg, who has been in the role of acting administrator since June, was prohibited from serving in the role past October 25th. Whitaker was nominated by President Joe Biden on September 7th and unanimously approved by the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee on October 18th. After a hearing earlier in the month, the confirmation process has been virtually undisputed because of Whitaker's extensive aviation experience within both the public and private sectors, which led to a quick vote by the full Senate. He served as the deputy administrator of NextGen at the FAA between 2013 and 2016. During which he became familiar with issues facing general aviation pilots. Over his career, he has spent time at Trans World Airlines, United Airlines, Interglobe Enterprises, and Hyundai Urban Air Mobility. Ooh, fancy. Prior to his confirmation as administrator between January 2022 and October 2023, Whitaker had worked in various leadership roles at Supernal, a mobility service provider developing advanced air mobility electric aircraft and supporting transit ecosystem. So this would
Isn't
be definitely
Supernal
interesting.
where isn't Supernal where what's his name? The prior UAS director went to.
Mm-hmm. And
Mhm.
Hyundai is where the number 2 from Precision Hawk went. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lots of AC and DAC people at Hyundai.
So it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table, and as always, it's interesting to learn to interact with these fine folk in the government sphere. So hopefully he is at least, I guess, amicable with recreational drone use as well as commercial. We'll see where that leads, but I think with some urban air mobility type background, he's going to be a little more knowledgeable, I think, in the UAS sphere. So I give that a decent thumbs up, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully that doesn't turn into a thumbs down later. So next, the requested news article. So new drone bill needs FAA approval. So this comes out of Albany County, New York. Although a newly proposed state law that would ban the intentional use of drones over schools appears on its face to conflict with federal regulations, the Federal Aviation Administration does permit such laws on a case-by-case basis, giving the path forward. The bill is sponsored in the state Senate by Senator Neil Breslin and will soon be sponsored in the Assembly by Assemblywoman Pat Fahey. It was written in response to an October 12th incident where a drone affiliated with a nearby real estate company flew over several schools in the Bethlehem district, the high school and Slinger Lands and Eagle Elementary schools. In a statement provided to the Enterprise this week, the FAA suggested that this law would overstep the administration's jurisdiction. They said the FAA is responsible for the safety of our national airspace system. This includes all airspace from the ground up. While local laws and ordinance may restrict where drones can take off or land, they cannot restrict a drone from flying in airspace permitted by the FAA. We prohibit drones from flying over designated national security sensitive facilities like military bases, national landmarks, and certain critical infrastructure such as nuclear power plants. Upon inquiry, Breslin's chief of staff, Maureen Centino, told the Enterprise that the law had been drafted at the request of Bethlehem School District and that inconsistencies were being discovered. We're probably going to make some amendments at some point. The legislative session doesn't start till January, so we've got plenty of time to look at things and get feedback from people. However, Fahey's spokesperson, Alexander Flood, told the Enterprise that the Assemblywoman stood by the bill as proposed, referring to a document published by the FAA that says some exceptions will be made for privacy-related restrictions over schools, parks, and other areas considered sensitive, though it does not say outright that these laws are permitted in all cases. For example, the document reads, a privacy-related ban on UAS operations over an entire city would very likely be preempted because it would completely prohibit UAS from using or traversing the airspace above the city and impede the FAA and Congress's ability to safely and effectively integrate UAS into the national airspace. Elsewhere, the document says restrictions on how UAS are utilized instead of where they may operate in the airspace would more likely be consistent with federal preemption principles. So here's the gist of all that language. So essentially, they're using a document that the FAA put out saying that if you're using them for surveillance or for whatever reason, that they can propose a law that says you can't fly there. So if it's a privacy type law, then it could end up with cities, states, localities, counties, in this case, massively restricting where people can fly. And this comes into question with another state that had to overturn. Texas overturned their ban on drones for this for a very a similar reason here. So it's definitely, I guess, as they say, a slippery slope on whether the FAA will allow this or not. But they, as it does sit in here, they are working on this with the FAA to see what they can come up with in relation to proposing this this bill. So
Wouldn't it just
And
be
if I,
easier
if I
to
may,
define all elementary schools as critical infrastructure for the national security because you're teaching students, of the future to, I don't know, something like that. That just seems like an easier way to go. Just redefine all schools are now.
well, and here's the flip side though is, let's say we designate a school to in that case, then what about STEM in those locations? What about the ability for I
Well,
know in
tons
like
of
here in
tons of schools have sporting events where they've got a drone flying over recording the event on purpose. So,
right,
or
but here's
STEM
the flip
classes,
side
yeah.
is here in Arizona, and I'm sure this is similar in many parts across the country, schools are integrated into the neighborhoods. So what's the effective radius of this, this law? Is it 500 feet? Is it 1,000 feet? Is it a mile? what's the effective radius of
It would be like a
basically being
FRIA. It's
unlawful to
like
fly, right?
it has to
Yeah.
stop at the sidewalks.
An anti-FRIA. So
Anti-FRIA.
if I could build on that, the assembly bill is Assembly 08176. I've been in touch with Assemblywoman Fahey. Her legislative assistant responded within 24 hours, which blew me away. When I sent right around the remote ID NPRM, I sent numerous memos into my senator, Senator Schumer, his office, and he took only 18 months to get back to me. At which point he told me that he couldn't understand what my questions were about because the Reauthorization Act had passed. With no
Gee, I wonder
kidding,
why.
18 months.
Duh.
So big shout out to Assemblywoman Fahey's staff for getting back to us so quickly. We're very appreciative to that. As Josh said, they cited a July guidance document, that's July 2023, that fuzzes things up. Vic Moss and I are working on this, and Vic has contacted the FAA and cited this example and one other. And we're asking the FAA again to please get involved. And so Assemblywoman Fahey's staff is working with the FAA. I've asked who is it? Who are you working with? Because certainly this divides into two pieces. One, critical infrastructure. No question, we get it. There's no hesitation. That should not, you're not flying over critical infrastructure, to Dan's joke. And then two, schools. There's the big unintended consequences for restricting school grounds, and that is, so if the law says an aircraft is a small UAS, so if you restrict drones, you're restricting all small UAS, so park flyers, small model airplanes, STEM programs. To us, this is a ridiculous piece of legislation, and we'll be working it. And so, Nate, if you have anything further or any background or contacts, welcome to hear them.
And as Shane points out in the YouTube, like if this is related to surveillance and video cameras and footage, like cars have cameras in them all over the place, and they're driving by schools all the time and dropping kids off. Like they're recording kids doing all kinds of things.
Yeah, and we're pretty confident that there are plenty of laws on the books that would restrict any nefarious activities from cameras. So these are just cameras in the air. So why don't we approach it that way instead of, let's create a no-fly zone?
And I mean, even further, if it, they did state in here that, kids were at recess when this happened and all that kind of stuff. Well, we have laws on flights over people, right? So, and regulations for that. So there's a lot of stuff that's already covered by this and just doesn't make sense. But, the telling part here for me is this little slip of language right here. Like you, we are not also entirely familiar with what drones can do. That's why they pose an unknown threat and why it makes sense that there should be some rules regarding their use around schools.
We don't know
People
what they do,
around
so we
the
should ban
world.
them.
Right,
Ban 'em.
exactly. It's like, oh my God, God forbid that you actually take 5 seconds to do a little research to understand what these
Right.
things
So
are
I'm
capable
an
of.
hour away from our state capital. So this could be an opportunity for a road trip for me. Drive up to Albany. It's an easy hop, and like I say, shout out to Assemblywoman Fahey's team for being so responsive. We hope that they have some patience with us and they continue to be as responsive. This will, as Josh said, this will require some back and forth.
Absolutely. So, real quick, I do want to touch. We bring them up often, but Zipline and Cleveland Clinic partner on prescription drone delivery. So this alliance represents Zipline's fourth with a major U.S. health system in 2023, following agreements with Intermountain Healthcare, Ohio Health, and Michigan Medicine. So one of the most highly regarded healthcare providers in the U.S. will soon deliver prescriptions via drone. Cleveland Clinic, considered one of the top hospital systems in the world based on rankings. is partnering with drone delivery provider Zipline to fly certain medications directly to patients' porches, patio tables, or front steps starting in 2025. Deliveries will be made using Zipline's Platform 2 delivery system, which is designed to complete 10 statute mile trips to dense urban areas in about 10 minutes. The largest drone delivery provider on Earth in terms of sheer volume, Zipline has completed more than 800,000 deliveries of some 8.3 million items to date, per the company's website. The bulk of these are on demand healthcare deliveries of cargo such as blood, vaccines, and prescription medicine. So, again, Zipline is a shining example of drone delivery done right, I think. And hopefully, this leads to the benefit of many around the country. And
I think the accolades for Cleveland Clinic are well earned. They are innovators in all sorts of technology that assists healthcare. So this is another example of Cleveland Clinic, and this is really good for us from a perspective of this is a trusted healthcare provider that will work to look to do good with Zipline, and this will help the overall imaging.
Yep, absolutely. So this is definitely a drones for good, and I feel like Zipline has a very marketable niche that they're utilizing in a definitely well mannered way. So I do wanted to. Whoa, apparently we're just gonna show some arrested. This is the New York Post, so what do you expect? But I mean. But New York never far from our hearts tonight, especially with Dave being a New Yorker. And so the NYPD is in agreement to buy a space-age looking drone detection vehicle to thwart possible terror attacks from above, the Post has learned.
38,000 people in NYPD. This is a police force that has international agents working in counterterrorism around the world. Not
They're getting
kidding.
a fancy van. They're getting a fancy van.
So they can park those at all the schools to prevent drones from flying around? Is that what they're for?
It might be.
Yeah.
So the
If
vehicle
anyone-
is being customized by FlyMotion, allows NYPD to be vigilant against the hazard posed by the use of unmanned aircraft systems or drones, especially amongst those who will place an explosive or dispersal device on the UAS with the intent of causing harm. The Trident vehicle, which is designed to serve as a mobile drone command center, reportedly cost about $300,000 when it was first unveiled in 2016. It's not clear how much the customized version would cost today. On the inside, the converted Mercedes-Benz van, man, they were rolling in style, has two large
They
flat
couldn't have
panel
used a Ford
displays.
Transit or anything, huh?
All right, that can show video feeds from 2 to 4 different sources. So here you go. This is looks like stock footage. So I mean,
Yeah. So
we're going there.
Rob was briefly on. I'm sure Rob's not rolling in a big Merc.
So there's your van right there. So
Why, stretch Sprinter. Very
Not
nice.
even a U.S. manufactured car, huh?
I mean, Dan, I think we should get one. This
So
is
like
it right here.
as Alex,
This is
would
your
know,
race vehicle,
living
Alex.
living around the DC area. New York City is second only to the Washington DC area, tenderly known the FRZ or the freeze, where you cannot fly. And in New York City, you cannot fly. There is a new permit process that'll cost you money, that's non-refundable, and it'll take you a long time to get it. So good luck with that one.
that permit system is fun, right? So you pay your fee, you get denied, and they keep your fee.
New York. Forget about it.
Jeez. Well, if we want one of those, we're
Oh,
going to have to
geez.
raise our membership fees a little bit.
A little bit.
I mean,
Man, that's nice.
I got $2 to contribute towards it.
Okay.
All right. Anywho,
Hey, we did work with the FDNY. That was 2021. Had an opportunity. They have a 17-person full-time drone fleet. So these drone pilots for fire department in New York City full time. These folks, and they're all firefighters. They had to be firefighters in order to get on the flight team, so that they knew all of the safety and precautions, etc. And they were doing great work back then as well as now. So they're as much as we joke and tease about New York, they had some good things going, and very, very useful to put a drone up and outside of a big fire, and assist the command center with really good data.
I think if the NYPD gets that van, I think we all go to Dave's house and we'll take a trip and we'll go, tour the van.
Gosh, I don't know anyone in high up, and I might. Former
All
retired
right.
commander.
There you go. We just, hey, we
Yeah.
just want to see the
Well,
van.
if you do the right/wrong thing, you can have the van show up at your house. So
Hey,
they'll drive it to you.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, there's New York and there's New York. I'm way
Right.
upstate.
All right. So, controversial Texas drone law reinstated in a blow for journalists. So, in a blow to the rights of Texas journalists to use drones in their reporting, a federal appeals court panel has reversed a lower court ruling that has found the state's restrictive drone law unconstitutional. Three-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals on October 23rd overturned a 2022 ruling that had found Chapter 423 of the Texas Government Code violated the First Amendment rights of photojournalists. The appeals court ruling reinstates the controversial law, but leaves the door open for journalists to challenge the application of the law on a narrow case-by-case basis. In the 38-page ruling, the appeals court panel led by Circuit Judge Don Willett found that the U.S. District Judge Robert Pittman had erred in March 2022 when he agreed that the plaintiffs in the case had a sweeping First Amendment right to use unmanned aerial drones to film private individuals and property without their consent. However, Alicia Calzada, attorney for the National Press Photographers Association, which is representing the plaintiffs in the case, disputed the appeals court assertion. Contrary to the characterization of the court, we have never claimed a sweeping First Amendment right to use unmanned aerial drones in a manner that constitutes an invasion of privacy. Invasion of privacy was a violation of the law before the statute was passed and continues to be so, and we have never claimed otherwise. So this goes on, and I encourage you to read it, especially if you live in Texas. But it's interesting that a state known so much for its relatively free rules and that kind of thing, locks down drones of all things, right?
Yeah, well, there's lots of things that they like to legislate that are none of their business.
So definitely check that out. It's a case of privacy and filming people without their permission and that kind of thing. So it'll definitely be interesting. The last thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap up tonight, I know we went a little, we're a little late, so but I wanted to touch on it. This is a great shout out, especially for maybe the guys over at Flight Test to check out. So Manchester University, and yes, this is in the UK, but engineers of the University of Manchester have flown what they claim may be the biggest unmanned quadcopter drone built yet. The university says it is unaware of a bigger unmanned quadcopter, but there's no independent verification of the record. As the name suggests, quadcopters are drones with 4 propellers. I didn't know.
So
This drone is made
so
from
is there
foam
any
board.
coincidence that it's the Guinness World Book of Records?
Right. So the drone is made from foam board, giving it a cardboard-like appearance, and spans 6.2 meters corner to corner. Yeah. The first flight of the giant foam board quadcopter, they're calling it the GFQ, took place in July inside of a hangar at Snowdonia Airspace Center. The GFQ's pilot, Kiernan Wood, a lecturer in the aerospace systems at the university, said the first moments of flight are the make or break point for these type of multi-copter drones. There are many hundreds of things that you must get right.
So why did they build this?
Fair.
I guess because it was there. They had some extra foam board around. That's a lot of foam. That's a lot of foam board. I'd
The
love to
drone,
see
which
it-
can be
love to
flown
see a
atop.
photo.
I've got it. Look at this.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so they did make it structural.
So I'll play the video. I don't know if it'll play very well. I'll pause at some key points. I'm
What
gonna
was the
leave the
question
sound
they're
off.
trying to answer? There.
That's a big boy.
Is it bigger than the drones that were built to put people in them, but then
That's-
were flown without people in them that they're supposed to
That's
race
what-
eventually?
That's what I wanted to see.
I think so.
Yeah.
So just tapered
Still the
beam
largest-
analysis, Alex.
Hey, they even
So-
rounded their corners. That's good.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think good fillet work.
Yeah, those motors look so tiny on that.
I
thing.
know they do. And it's
Yeah, they're
hot.
probably
glued
big as your
together.
fist.
It's like if I put tiny motors and props on my 5-inch.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. So yeah, so they're pointing out that the foam board is a composite, and that's absolutely the case, and that's what Flight Test takes advantage of that every day when they put spars in their
Mhm.
fixed wing airplanes without any carbon fiber. They're all folded beams, D beams and C tubes, and
Is this going to be the
I-beams.
next spec class racing drone setup?
Yeah, let's do it.
6 months to complete. lots of hot glue.
I'm guessing it won't survive a crash very well.
Small
I can
group
test
of
it.
There you go. Huh. Those butt joints are all. That's. Ugh. Ugh. Oh man.
I would guess
lot of extra weight there.
the flight controller's doing a lot of work to make that thing fly.
All right. So that's all I got for this evening. I know there's other stuff that's happening out there. I had to kind of narrow down the articles this week, which was a blessing for sure. So the last couple of weeks have been last couple town halls have been a little dry, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still going back to the van. Like I need the van.
Sprinter.
I really want the
a
van.
big stretch sprinter.
Well, if they're going to confiscate a drone that's 21 feet wide, they're going to need a bigger van.
The funny thing is they talk about, and I didn't really touch base on this, but they asked them if they were going to put counter drone technology on there, and they're like, "Well, we're not really allowed to, but maybe in the future."
Oh, guaranteed
So-
they are.
We're not allowed to.
That's right. This is NYPD you're talking about.
By their own country.
It depends what you define counter drone technology as. Like, what if you just have a bunch of FPV drones and you just start flying them around and they happen to hit the other drone out of the sky? Like,
Oh,
is that
whoops.
counter drone technology?
Release the hawks.
I got my 12 gauge in the back. All right.
All right. What else we got? Alex, you got anything for us, sir?
Well, multi GP champs was last week. No, 2 week. No, it was last weekend. Yeah,
It's been
how
a
long ago
blur.
was it?
It's been a blur.
Alex hasn't
Yes,
gotten much
last-
sleep since he went to champs.
Yeah, last week. So 24th through the 28th. So sports class was 24th, 25th. Pro class was 26th through the 28th. In sport class, we had let's see, we had abnormal, dabs, and scorcher taking third, second, and first.
Who took
Then
fifth?
for pro class, we had Proximo in third, Drobot Racer in second, and MCK again in first. So the stream had a lot more graphics in it. The track was again set up with LEDs. It was a fun track to fly. It flew great. And the competition in sport was a lot more difficult this year than last year. So there's a huge jump in skill level for the sport championship the past couple of years.
Is there anything that
Nice.
forces people to move up, or can you stay in sport as long as you want, or what are the incentives for choosing sport over pro class?
Well, it all depends on how you qualify on the GQ. So if you qualify above 150 on the GQ, you have no option. If you qualify
No
above
options.
150, well, then you're stuck in sport. or you don't
Okay.
go.
Or you don't. Fair.
So just depends on how you qualify.
So it sounded like a fantastic event, and I'm hopeful that the enthusiasm and the great coverage, great social media coverage that you guys did for the event. I hope that's we're translating into some chapter enthusiasm and excitement to start racing whoops in the winter in the north and get ready for spring. And congratulations for your results, Alex. That's no mean feat with everything else you're carrying. That's a great deal. And you got to
super
see Minchin fly. That I would love to have seen. Amazing.
I left before pro, so I didn't actually get to watch him fly, but I've seen him fly elsewhere
Mhm.
There you go.
at other events. So
Cool. All right, Dan, anything for us this evening?
Nope, nothing new the last couple weeks that I can think of. I
All
do
right.
have some remote ID modules I need to get some more testing and answer more people's questions about, though. So,
Great.
thanks, Dave. Got the box and got the
Excellent.
modules in it.
Excellent.
Got some
Excellent.
work to
Good.
do.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Cool.
And
Rob, I need your I need you guys to get a van.
Well, I jumped in late, so I'm not tracking yet.
oh, you got it. You got to see the New York.
Hold
NY
on, I'll bring up the van.
Yeah,
Watch the
van is
replay.
awesome.
Yeah, NYPD has found or they have a stretch Sprinter.
There you go.
I can't imagine what this thing priced out at.
It's their drone van.
Yeah, so that's a Fly Motion product. They're out of Florida. So we actually run one not quite that big, but we run a similar concept as well for our long-term stuff.
Nice.
I want to
Nice.
see the van at some point. Next time I come to Texas.
Road trip.
I see the van.
Well, come out here, we'll show it to you.
Excellent.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
All right.
And Josh, we're just starting up work on, as you know, but for everyone else, on the drone advisory council. And so this is the group that we talked about a couple of times, and very excited to have a loft. John Hagrain's chairing it. We are co-founders with on the effort. Influential Drones, Pilot Institute, and Vic Moss from Drone Service Provider Alliance, and a couple other folks as well. And so we're cranking up an activity. Greg Revenue from Pilot Institute and I are co-chairing that, and that's on standard remote ID. That should help or should benefit both recreational as well as Part 107. So we'll see how what the approach is on trying to convince the FAA that they want to take on some of these changes, make it a little easier for us to fly legally and purchase legally bind and fly drones, as well as use them in recreation as well as Part 107. So more on that as we get that refined.
That's
right.
excellent, and keep driving that, and hope to see some good results.
There's a comment in YouTube there for you, Dave, from Steady Eddie FPV, inviting you to come up and fly whoops this season. They fly Sundays in, I don't know how to pronounce that. It looks like Watervliet.
Watervliet. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I have two tiny trainers. One it's complete and running, and the another on the board. So with two of them built, I might have enough to complete a couple of races.
There you go. Excellent. We need videos.
DVR, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no excuse. The card was full. Oh.
You could always
All
take
right.
somebody else's DVR and pretend it's yours.
Sweet.
All right, Steady Eddie, we need to you need to let us know if Dave doesn't show up, because we'll force the issue. All right, so we need to see him race. This is a must at some point in the next 6 months. So all right, so with that, guys, thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you found tonight's town hall informative. I think we got a very valid remote ID module, another one out on the books. We look forward to seeing the price point on that and the excellent work that those two gentlemen were able to accomplish. And then, if you spot the van, anybody in New York, I want pictures.
Yeah, and congratulations to Ken and Brian on the and their declaration of compliance approval. That's a big deal, and so that's an approved module, and they have their number, and so they're legit, they're bona fide.
Hey, Josh,
So,
I got to throw this out there. So if you like that van, Fly Motion makes an armored version of that van.
yes,
That's what you need. That's the one you need.
Yes, I need it.
That's how
Trying to
you can
convert my-
fly without having to worry about somebody coming up and stealing your equipment when you're flying.
Yes,
Absolutely.
The
I
ultimate
think it gets
urban
6
assault
miles to the
vehicle.
gallon.
Okay,
Yeah, I just
so-
want to get a school bus and renovate that into a shop.
No. I need somebody. We need to get in touch with Fly Motion. I need my Tacoma converted into an armored drone vehicle. This is what needs to happen. All right, cool.
Excellent.
I love it. All right, guys, have a good night. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in another couple of weeks. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Great night.
Fly so high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Flying, get on board. We're smiling on top of the world. Dangerous times, don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind.